So see, what we're doing is, if you remember, there was AI CPA. Yes, there was, 1 second, give me, and then, yeah. So when we did the blueprint, okay, if you guys recall, there were two areas that I asked you specifically that has been added in the regulation course. So what we're going to do, never done that before. Oh, 1 second. So this is far. Yeah, this was federal taxation. Okay. And actually, what we are referring to is this. What we are referring to is this. Okay. So if you recall, we said that this is something that is a new edition. And actually, we've never tested sims like this. But I feel this is actually very sensible. You know, definitely people who've had a working experience in taxation will have an edge. But at the same time, people who are learning taxation also would enjoy, right? Because this is exactly what you would be doing once you opt to choose taxation as one of your specialization field. So I think the way that they're going to test you now is very interesting, and it actually completes the entire learning cycle. So I think you should be welcoming this change. It's a very good and healthy change. Okay. So what is the change in focus? The change in focus is, earlier they used to give you the facts of the case, and they used to just test you on your base concept. So they'll give you the facts, and then they'll give you some drop down, or they'll give you some kind of a situation where you have to fill up certain data, and that's it. Did not typically have the annexures, which were the audit was the only field where we had a situation which was mimicking an actual audit situation. Okay, that was the only place we used to have that. So basically, if people have taken audit before, or if people are going to take audit after this is exactly how audit is going to be. They'll give you real life scenarios. They'll give you actual supporting the source documents. They're the most important things, right? So they'll give you actual source documents. They'll give you actual supportings. And then they will ask you to see how it features on the form. So typically now they are giving a lot of credence to the actual form filling. Okay. So today, since this is the first topic that we did practically, I will take a comprehensive sim in both the cases. The first case is they'll give you a form 10 to 1, that form will be incorrect, and a novice would have attempted that form. But you will see that there would be a logic in that incorrect data also. And as you go ahead and when you do, so this is something that many of the content providers have. Uh, Others are still struggling with this because this is a new area. I will try to give you as many as I can get into the picture, but see, a full class is taken here. So my aim would be that after a couple of sessions, I'll go selective on what are the topics that I feel will benefit the most here. But it's your job to cull more of this out and then do it from whatever source possible. Okay. But how can you incorporate this experience in your daily study? What you can do is, every time when you see a particular provision, you should have a vision of how it features on the main form. You should have a vision of how are you going to see it in the main form. Okay, so I'm going to take a sim on the first one, whereby we ask you to review the form 1040. So typically they'll give you all the data and they would ask you to flow that data on the form. But the next scenario is when they will, so the first scenario is you are the tax return preparer and you are filling up the form. The next scenario is you are a tax return preparer, you're filling up a form, and in the process, some error reports come in, right? So if you have ever filled up a form ITR, it's the same thing, guys, okay? It's the same thing when you try to fill up the form and submit it, then it gives you the error messages, right? In India, we have those error messages and they'll point out that this is incomplete, that is incomplete. And 10 to 1, those error messages, some of them would be like indicative. They'll tell you, okay, this is missing, just be careful. You had this last year. This looks like a thing that generally is found. Just check up whether it has to be there or not. And then in certain cases, they will give you an error message that you have to resolve, before which you cannot go to the next step. That means the form cannot be submitted if those errors have not been rectified. So we'll put a fancy name to both of these errors. The first error is called informational. The next kind of errors are called severe or computational. So once you have those names, your mind should be able to pick up them, and your mind should know that, yes, now we have to resolve this doubt. If it is informational, you don't have to resolve the doubt. If it is not informational, that means if it's a severe error or a computational error, then you need to resolve that error. Okay, so we'll do a sim in both of them. And what I want you to take away from that sim is how the flow is happening, right? See, given adequate time, I feel everybody will be able to solve everything if you have prepared your fundamentals well. So the challenge comes of looking at the right data and solving the sim within the time that will be given to you, right? So that is what your mind should be alert about. That once you see that data, how do you save time and ensure that your accuracy level is very high, but you don't waste a lot of time in arriving at the right answers? Okay, so that is what your mind should be really alert at. That means, in my language, I would call it the flow. How would you flow that sim so that you arrive? So I assume that one sim you should not be able to, you should be able to solve it in some 20, 25, or 15 minutes at the minimum, some 10 minutes. In the 10 to 15 minutes range, we should be able to solve a sim. Let's see how it is. So, okay, for those of you who are taking my sessions for the first time, never done a sim earlier, generally I don't solve the sims. I'm just a facilitator. You guys would have to solve the sims. And again, as I told you, your first attempt should be, take the data, don't go through everything in 100% detail. Just see what information is given, how the flow is, how are you going to approach it. But look at the main items that you're looking for and then delve deep. Okay, so what are we doing today? We are going to solve two comprehensive sims. So the first thing is we'll delve straight because the first one needs no explanation. Okay, so this is a situational sim. Now you have to dirty your hands and do everything the way a tax practitioner does. So when you're solving these sims, you are a tax practitioner. So I'm using the word tax practitioner because I don't like the word preparer. Okay, I always believe you grow up and you be a tax practitioner rather than a preparer. So there's this lady called Brenda Smith. She's 32 years of age, is a widow. So pick up the keywords when you're reading it. She's a widow. She lives somewhere in America. They have given you her social security number. She works for a health club as a club manager. Great. So there is a company is offering several fringe benefits to its employees. And then they've started giving you the fringe benefits that are offered. One is, okay, so I'm reading it a little slow right now, but your mind should not go and read everything 100% and so it should not be that you waste 10 minutes reading the entire same. It should not be like that, okay? Get the flow, get to have an idea of what details are given to you, and then understand how are you going to take a minute and then think how you're going to address it, okay? So the club is offering several fringe benefits. There's a data given. The regular members pay 120. She's taking. So there's something to do with fringe benefit. She purchased a reformer machine from the employer. Okay, there's another thing where the employer is giving her some discount. So again, fringe benefit. Then W2 wages. Okay. The husband met with an accident, broke her left. Okay, the accident happened in year 2. So immediately the question comes, which year are we making that return? Okay, so your mind should start getting alert. I don't know which year are we making that return. Okay, so now we need to determine, we're talking about a widow currently, and we're talking about a scenario when the widow is working as a club manager. There is some data given about the fringe benefits. Okay, late in year 2, which I don't know whether it is last year or current year, I'm not too sure. So I need to get the answer to this question. And her husband were in an auto accident. The lady broke her arm and hip, and there were injuries to her husband, which were fatal. She was unable to work, and there was a disability insurance. Okay, so all my theory starts kicking in my brain. She sued the driver, and there's a settlement. Email has been provided. So I get a W2. So I know my mind should look for a W2. I also know that I should look for an email. So if I look at it, I am looking for an annexure for W2. So this is the annexure 1. I'm looking for an email for attorney. This is annexure 2. As the beneficiary of Frank's life insurance policy, Brenda received a lump sum money in year 3. So my mind now gets alerted. Probably this has to do with the returns for year 3 and not year 2. But it is still not confirmed. So let's see. We'll still carry on. She also received a check of 1,500 from Frank's employer for vacation pay, something, something. Okay, what is this income, guys? If I have to put a one name to this income that she received from the employer, what would that income be? What would that income be? Now we have known everything. There's nothing in this sim that you would not have read about. Okay. So what is the name given to this income? She has received a vacation pay on behalf of her husband. who died. What is this amount, guys? It's an income with respect to a decedent. And when she received it, that means her husband was not there, right? But it is not her money, it is her husband's money. So this is IRD income. Great. Then there was some struggling to pay bills, some funeral costs, payment plan. Okay. There's some cancellation of debt income. Okay. As a result, okay, there is another form. So I'm looking for an extra 3 here. Okay. So I'm looking for 3 annexures. My mind is alert. I have some confusion with 20 year 2 and year 3, but I think this would be year 3. But I will still need some confirmation. Okay. Then I go to the next one and I say, okay, the grocery store where she's shopping also sells lottery tickets and she's taken a risk in January of year 3. Now I'm getting a little bit more confirmed that this is year 3. She won. So there is a gambling winning, guys. See, there is a gambling winning. And there are some gambling expenses. Okay. So now I know, okay, there are gambling winnings, there's a gambling expense. She decided to invest the insurance policy proceeds and windfall from the lottery ticket. My mind is still not very clear how much insurance policy proceeds did she get. So I'm looking for that detail. There is an interest, tax-free. Okay, this I know is tax-free. There is a interest. I know this is taxable. There is some interest associated with a refund. So this is a cursory reading, guys. We'll go back to each one of these in details. But even when you're reading it, I don't want you to spend a lot of time reading all the data at one go. Okay? So this has something to do with interest. Okay. There is a refund interest. I know it's going to be taxable because any kind of a refund is taxable. Then there's a form K1 for her investment as a 10% shareholder. Okay, so I don't know what is this amount that she has received, but I'm looking for kind of 4 annexures now, right? There's a W2, there's a cancellation of debt, there's an email, and there's a subchapter S corporation. So these are the 4 details that I'm not clear of. Okay, so let's see what they say. Now, this is very, very important. Jasmine, just give me a moment. Let me finish this. I'll take. Brenda partially completed her own Form 1040. So I'm looking for an incomplete Form 1040 and the schedule. So I know that there will be 2 more datas given to me. 2 more data. Review her tax forms for accuracy and completeness and provide corrected Excel spreadsheets of both Form 1, Schedule 1 and Form 1040. Okay, this is now, I know for sure it is year 3, right? So I know I'm looking for the details of year 3. They have given me an incorrect Form 1040 and they have given me an incorrect Schedule 1. They're asking me to do some kind of a working for both the schedules. That's it. So now I know the structure, right? My mind knows that I'm looking for year 3 information. My mind knows that I would be given at least 2 things, which is Forms 1040, Schedule 1. I know I have to be working on the workings for these. And I also know that I need 4 annexures or 4 details, which is lacking here. I need a Schedule S Corporation Form K1. I need an email telling me how much I have, won as a beneficiary or how much I've earned as a beneficiary for my husband's or Brenda's husband's death. Also, I need 2 more information. Okay, so my mind is alert about that. Cancellation of debt income. Okay, so now this is what they want me to fill up. Okay, so when I'm reading the call of the questions, please go slow. Read it extremely well. The last line, the opening line, when you're starting the sim, so this I would want you to read very, very carefully. Okay, the following is an abbreviated list of line items from Form 1050 Schedule 1. So they have reproduced a section of Schedule 1 to you. Based upon your analysis and computations of the narrative and the exhibits given, enter the appropriate amounts as would appear on Form 1040 Schedule 1. So they want you to decode everything and put the figures here. Enter all values as, okay, this is very, very important, guys. How do they want you to write the figures? Can you see, remember always that there's no human being who's checking your papers. There's a computer who has been fed, and that computer is a useless computer. It does not understand how smart you are. So that's the reason, when I was teaching, I still remember the sessions that I had for BEC, where I was teaching them how to write. I always said, this is such a, empowering thought. There's a foolish guy who's checking my paper, right? So if this foolish guy is foolish, all I need to know is understand his head and then write my answers. So I need to know what is the language that that foolish guy understands. That language is positive whole numbers, except losses, which should be used with a minus sign. So very clearly, I have to write full whole numbers. That means no decimal. Be very, very clear with the data that is given to you guys, okay? Because if you don't enter a data, if you don't write a negative number with a minus sign, sometimes it will tell you to round off the number. You need to know this, otherwise that guy does not understand how smart you are. Okay. So enter all values as positive whole numbers except losses, which should be entered as a minus sign. If no value is required, please enter a 0, because if that cell is left blank, they will call it a wrong attempt. Your marks will be deducted. Okay, in different content providers, some of them are not so advanced, but in your exam, make it very, very clear in your mind that there will be a marks allocated for every cell if it's not a test sim. And if a 0 is not fetched, if it's an empty cell, it will be taken as an incorrect answer. So this is where I don't want you to rush up. Be very clear with what they want you to do. Okay, so now I know very clearly whole numbers, positive. If it's negative, it's a minus figure, and every blank has to be filled. I cannot leave anything as 0, or I cannot put NA because the computer will throw a error message and it will be a wrong answer. Okay, great. So now I need to fill this up, schedule 1. Then I go to the next one. Shown below is the abbreviated list of line items from Form 1040, page 1. That means they have given me an extract of Form 1040. That means my mother form, page 1. And so basically gross income, whatever items are involved, they have given me everything. They have given me schedule 1, where the gross income is flowing, to Form 1040, the mother page. Based upon your analysis and computations of the narrative and exhibits given, enter the appropriate amounts as would appear on Form 1040, page 1. So master form. Enter all values as positive whole numbers except losses if any, which should be entered using a minus sign. If no value is required, write a 0. Again, it's the same thing, so I know there is no catch there. Then what do I do? Then I look at the data. So I know I'm looking for certain figures. They've already given me 1040. They've already given me 1040 schedule 1, which is incorrect. And they've already given me schedule K1 of S corporation. Those three I have already shared with you, and I'm assuming most of you have that. Now I was looking for a form W2. I see that's there. I was looking for an email stating what would be the legal action final settlement. I have that email. And I was looking for cancellation of debt income. I have that cancellation of debt details. That's it. So I know all the data. Okay. I know everything. Now what I'll do, I know there are annexures for every item. I know what I have to do. I will delve into the area. Now I will read the same thing a little slowly. And when I'm doing it, I will solve the questions straight away. Okay, one question, guys, at this point. So I think you guys have seen the forms that I have shared with you. So this was my mother form, 1040. This was given to me. Then this was form schedule 1 of form 1040. That was also shared with me. And then this was the schedule K1 of the S corporation for the year 2023. That is also shared with. Okay. At this point of time, I just need to go and roll with the data that is given to me. Okay. So now this is the first time when we're doing it. I would first want you to delink everything and do it with the gross income inclusion and exclusion. So this is the conceptual part. And then I'll flow it into these forms. And from here, I can fill it up. Now that's one option that you... Now see, why is this important? We'll arrive at it when we go a little slow. Okay. So let's park it for the timing and let's straight away delve into it and see how are we going to address this. Okay.